How widespread do you think that the mechanical doping is at the moment in the professional peloton?
Well, first of all, I don't like the terms mechanical doping, because doping is something you take medication or you do blood transfusion, but you still harm your body with it. And even a donkey, you could give them as much doping as you want. If you don't train, he still could. He still would not be in front in races. Mechanical doping and what you read and see, unfortunately, see also around the last years, latest on the World Championship in cyclocross. That's like even a lot worse than doping. It's like crime. If I could build an engine in my bike, the same e-bikes than I sell here, I could still win today probably the Alpe d'Huez. So I believe it even gives a worse image on the terms of doping if you say it's mechanical doping, because it's just completely bullshit shady.
Mm. And nevertheless, we saw Femke van der Driesche in the women's cyclocross here a few months back. In your opinion, with your knowledge of professional racing, would you say that this is an actual problem in professional cycling?
Not at all. I don't think it's a problem at all, because it's just too easy to detect. I mean, bike is not a syringe which you can flush down the toilet or something. A bike is your finish with, and you cannot just put it, make it disappear. I mean, your bike arrives, you can check it. All the bikes are today 6.8 kilos. There's a battery in it. It's for sure over 7.5 kilos. If they put it in an X-ray machine, you see it immediately if there's any engine or electronical stuff in the bike or around the bike. So I believe it's not a problem at all. It's good that it came out now, because maybe there were some who tried to go that way, but I believe it's not. I believe that discussion will be finished in a few months, and then I believe maybe in mid of next year, the first bike brands will provide actually a e-bike or a mechanical assistance in road bikes, which is, I think, a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that'll bring people out cycling legally, even with the e-bike. But nevertheless, the debate about the electric engines in bicycles for professional racing has erupted now again, and starting actually in 2010 with Fabian Cancellara who rode really strong in Flanders and Paris-Roubaix. You didn't ride those races, but you were a teammate with Fabian. What are your comment on the whole Cancellara mechanical doping issue?
Well, we honest. We spoke before about it. I don't think that Fabian had any engine on the bike. It's just too easy to say if someone can't follow him and the way he rode. I mean, Fabian, it was the best year of his life, and still today, where he just before retirement, if you see under all the Quaremont in Tour de Flanders, how he passed all the peloton. Yes, it's a term in cycling, you rode like a motorbike, but that doesn't mean that you have a motor in the bike. I mean, I have e-bikes here and e-mountain bikes, and if I ride with them, I finish my hour. If I try them, I do the hour. I do it normally in half an hour, which I do for normal. But Fabian still won with a minute in advance of the others, so that means it's not that big of his punch. Fabian have the punch, probably the best one. He's the best time trialist in the world, and he can do that. And it's just too easy to say from other guys that he had an engine in the bike.
You yourself also in 2010, people had said that it looked a bit suspicious when you chased Contador after your mechanical in Port-de-Balais, and you went pretty fast there. So there was also a debate about a possible bike change and so on. Take me through those dramatic minutes there.
Yeah, that was in Port-de-Balais when I had when I dropped my chain. I lost a few, probably about a minute to Alberto, and I went on the bike and I passed the other riders who just passed me. And if the camera is just on the side, so it looks Like I passed them actually, like the motorbikes who passed the peloton. And then people came up and they said, yeah, you changed the bike and now we know, and here and there. But in fact, I never changed the bike. I was still on, I just put the chain back on. Sometimes images on the TV can, I have to say, they are not real. I mean, sometimes we go a climb up with 20% and it looks like it's a false flat. And sometimes we go on the flat and it looks like we're going uphill. So you always have to be very, very careful. And I'm optimistic. And I always start from that position, and I say, the riders are clean. The riders, they ride with no engine. The riders, if I see someone winning, for me, it's first of all that he win because he was training hard, because he have talent. I never start with the idea, he won because he was doping or because he have an engine in the bike. I believe the people who dope or the people with engine in bike is maybe 1%. Or 0.1%. That's really what I think, and I don't even think it was someone who ever won a race. Mm-hmm. Like we saw in the cyclocross race from the women's. She was not one of the favorites. She was probably in the last fourth of the peloton.
Still, there is the option that a rider or a team could build in electric engines in their bikes, and you have a frame here which has been cut open, and so you could demonstrate maybe that there actually is enough room in there to put something in there.
Well, I mean, if you look back, e-bikes, they are now on the market for 12, 15 years. The first computer came out 25 years ago, which had maybe half a giga and who took all the room. Today you have 200 giga in a small cell phone. Mm. So technically, of course, it's possible. I mean, you have, this is now a battery from an e-bike, a 500 watts battery. So if you have this on an e-bike, if you push 400 watts, you get out 800 watts. If you really want to put it in a frame like here, I have a frame cut open, of course the battery have to be smaller, but maybe you don't need to have double of the watts what you push. So definitely it's possible to make, yes. And
with a rather small engine and a much smaller battery built in a frame here, that would be here where the pedals go, so you would build the engine in here, most likely, and the battery also in the frame. Let's just see how that looks. Yeah, here comes the frame, and here this one comes up.
So what we saw on the TV France 3, I don't know if you saw this. Yeah. They demonstrated. They actually built the prototype. So they had the battery in the seat tube, yeah. And then there was the engine was around here, and then the bottom bracket was turned by the engine. The bike they had there made a lot of noise. But definitely it is possible to make, and I don't think this is now a battery which you can buy on the market. Yeah. So it's not the prototype. This exists for 2-3 years already. So technology today is so far that definitely you could build a small engine with a battery who gives you enough to climb a climb in the Alps without suffering too much.
Because that's of course the big question is of course the engine goes in the saddle tube here, and it has a limited amount of power to give a rider, but even small amounts of extra watts would, I'm sure, help a rider. Could you try to explain what would be the difference between you in top form as a personal rider and maybe a guy who is not really strong in the mountains?
I mean, when Alberto and me, when we battled for the Tour, that was 3,400 kilometers. And in the end, the difference was 36 seconds. That's nothing. So that means maybe he's 0.1%. He was better that year, even he wasn't. But maybe... so you don't need to have a lot. If it brings you maybe 10 or 20 watts, that's already a lot. Mm-hmm. With 10 or 20 watts, I will climb, let's say, the Mont Ventoux 12 minutes faster than without this 20 watts one.
So a lot to gain from the engines. That's
Of course, a lot to gain, yes. Yeah. Will you ask me why the riders change bikes? I'd like to make that clear. If it's
we'll just we got the clip in there. So. Er vi klar? Du kører måske bare.
Ja, kører jeg.
The whole idea of changing bikes, we see that more and more often that the big riders change their bikes maybe before a climb or at least during the stage. What is the big idea with the bike changing the bike during a race?
Well, that's very simple, and I would like to make that once clear. I mean, if you see, if there's a long stage in a Giro in the Tour, and you have a top rider who changed the bike before the last climb, that's normal. I changed the bike if there was an uphill finish because I got tires who were more slick. Maybe we started the stage in the rain. Without changing the wheel, it's much quicker to change the bike. So I got the bike who was exactly on 6.8 kilos, which was the limit from the UCI. I got when I got the bike for the final climb, there was only one bottle cage on it because that's an extra a little bit of gram. And I mean, it's not silly if you see today what the big rider earns for money. They earn 5-6 million, maybe a guy like Froome, a year. So it's okay that they go really on the limit, that they want to have not 1 gram too much in the bike. If you can't ride the whole stage with 11 bar in your tires, but you can do 1 hour with 11 bar on the tires. So you change and for sure on your new bike you don't have 22 millimeter tires, you have 21 or 19, and they are pumped up so that you have less rolling resistance, because that's just and I think no one can criticize that. If they ride in the Formula 1, if it starts raining, they go immediately in the box stop and they change the tires. Because they know with these tires they are a little bit faster. And that's the whole idea, because riders change bike in a certain situation of a race. Because maybe you start in the rain, it starts getting dry, your chain is dry, so you get a new bike with the oil chain. If you have an uphill finish, you get a bike with 19 tires, where the tires are pumped up with 11 bar, not with 9, with lightweight parts on it, which are probably not comfortable to ride 200 kilometers, but maybe the last 10 or 15 kilometers. And in the end of the day, if you gain only 3-4 seconds by these small details, everybody needs to change the bike before the last climb, because it's just too much money and too much effort behind to I mean, a professional rider today takes care of everything. What he eats, how much he sleeps, how many minutes stretching, how many hours training, everything. So I think it's normal that you also go in the mechanical on the limit. So it's not, I believe it's totally normal when someone changes bike, and it's not the first idea you should have. Yeah, he takes the bike because there's an engine. No, he takes the bike because the bike is a little bit lighter, it's more pressure in, and it just rolls better.
So it's all about marginal gains and not about cheating.
I believe so, yes. I believe it's probably engine in the bike. I was afraid when I heard that there was a positive mechanical issue in the Cyclocross World Championship. So I believe it's been there, but I believe not in the top riders, because it's just too much. I never saw a bike who made noises, or who was rolling from himself, or was heavy, because as soon as you have an engine or battery in, the bike is 8-9 kilos or more.
However, there has been examples of strange bicycle behavior. Rider Hesjedal's bike in the Giro one year, I believe it was, and there was a Movistar rider crashing also at one point, where his rear wheel kept living a life of its own. Apparently, what are your comments on those examples?
I believe these were examples who just came the critical people very good, and at that point, if you crash and your wheel turns, it will turn with the I can show you afterwards. If I take an expensive and really high quality wheel, you turn it one and you come back after half an hour, it's still turning. That can happen also in a crash.